Hi, I'm Astrologer Penny Dix and welcome to this month's full moon report. On the 7th of September, we have the first of a series of 4 eclipses. And this one is in the sign of Pisces. With the full moon, therefore we get a lunar eclipse in the sign of Pisces. It's at 15 degrees. And it will actually be visible in a large part of Europe, Russia, Australia, I believe. It's really not going to be very visible in the Americas, the East Coast of America, and maybe parts of the West Coast. But in Europe and the UK, we will actually get a good view of the eclipse. And what I'm just going to show you very quickly, just to remind you what happens when we have an eclipse, is it looks like that. So you can see the Earth passes between the sun and the moon. Therefore, the Earth casts a shadow on the moon and makes it basically go very dark. And they actually call this one a blood moon. So lovely dramatic wording. So I just wanted to remind you what it looks like, because I think that's quite helpful. I think at this point we will get Jerry to upload our chart. Jerry, the chart. Don't you just love that? I do. Of course, I'm sitting here recording this and there's nothing there. But I know you'll have something there, so that's lucky. Anyway, as you can see, it's a full moon in Pisces. And just to let you know, whilst I witter away, that there will be timestamps to each of your zodiac signs. So I'm going through all 12 zodiac signs for the second half of this video. But first of all, we need to look at what this particular lunar eclipse is all about. Now, it's a full moon. And we know historically that full moons usually bring endings, completions, resolutions, change in some form or other. I do think it's interesting that it is going to be visible over a wide part of Europe, considering we've got a lot of hotspots in Europe with the Middle East and with Eastern Europe, with Ukraine. So I wonder whether we will see a shift in the energies or the change of the energy around where these particular situations continue unfolding, and whether it brings some positive, ultimately, a positive change. Because Pisces also, remember, is the 12th sign of the zodiac. So this is a full moon. Not only a full moon which brings endings, but it's in Pisces. So of course, this is the last sign of the zodiac. So it's also about how we need to move forward to new beginnings, that we really have to let the old go to let something come in. So what do you need to let go so that the new can come in? Because I always think that is a good rule of thumb to think about when we have any full moon, particularly this one. And because the sun, of course, is in Pisces, then the sun is in Virgo, the moon is in Pisces. Because the sun is in Virgo, Virgo is the sign which really encourages us to do a lot of clearing out of clutter. So I think there is something quite symbolic about the clearing out of clutter, especially if you want to initiate change into your life and it's been a bit stuck, just not moving, just not changing. Do something symbolically that will help promote or bring about that change, because what it does is it rewires our neural pathways when we do something concrete and positive, like packing up things in our house if we want to move, to use that as quite a topical situation. And it sends out signals to the universe that we're serious about this, that we really do want this change to take place. Now, because I feel the human consciousness is connected on a frequency that is unique to each individual human being, to the all of the all and the frequency of the divine mind, then it slots in, it tunes in to the frequency that is somehow encapsulated in the divine mind of this person wishes to change their location. They are doing things to bring that about. So the universe can almost pivot on that piece of energy and think, oh, we need to bring this in and this in for that to unfold. So, and I do think it's fascinating that there is so much research and kind of really good evidence that human consciousness does transmit outside of our own aura, our auric field. We know this with situations like where we know who's going to be on the phone when it rings. Mothers and children often have this telepathic link that is just undeniable, but it's there. Twins have a very pronounced psychic link between each other. And as you probably are aware, because there's been quite a lot of discussion about the telepathy tapes, where children with learning difficulties or with ADHD or autism were showing extraordinary results of being able to communicate with their parent on a level which just doesn't make sense, so that the mother, for instance, can transmit, let's take it something simple like, I want a cup of tea. And the young child will appear in the living room with a cup of tea for mother. And she goes, how did you know I was thinking about making a cup of tea? So I think, and this is something not just about this full moon, because I think this full moon brings us to the end of a cycle, of an astrological cycle of the zodiac. And because we are approaching mid-September, the autumn equinox, which is around the same time as the next eclipse, which is going to be a solar eclipse in Virgo. So we're going to get two new moons in the sign of Virgo in this sort of short space of time, which is unusual, because normally it's the next sign and the next sign. But of course, the new moon we get with the solar eclipse in Virgo on around the 21st, 22nd of September is at the 29th degree. And that first new moon we had in Virgo, which was on the 23rd of August, was at 0 degrees. Now this full moon, the full moon in Pisces, is at 15 degrees. So it's not quite exactly conjunct the North Node, which is our karmic destiny. So, but it's bringing in that energy of, where do you want to go next? What do you wish to unfold in your life next? What do you have to discard and close the door on for the new to come in, potentially with that new moon solar eclipse in Virgo mid-September? So these are the subjects you need to kind of keep somewhere in your mind. We also need to remember that Saturn our planet of restriction, constraint, boundaries, has retrograded now back into the sign of Pisces, where it's going to move all the way back to 25 degrees. So any of you with your natal sun or maybe natal moon or a personal planet, which will have less effect, but the sun or the moon, if you have your sun or moon between 29 and 25 of Pisces, this is the last hit, if you like, of Saturn conjunct your sun. So the combination of Saturn conjunct your sun, the full moon in Pisces bringing some closure, some important, much needed closure, so that you can move on to the next chapter of your life. So if we look at this chart, also what we have to remember is that we have this grand, what can we call it? It's a grand trine or a grand mini trine between Pluto in Aquarius retrograde and Uranus that went retrograde on the 6th, now retrograde in Gemini. And they are at 1 degree, and so they are both sextiling Neptune, still in Aries, but retrograde, and Neptune is moving slower because Saturn has now overtaken it and is moving back into Pisces, and Neptune will move back into Pisces a little later on. But what this full moon will do is activate this mini grand trine, where we have Uranus, our planet of the unexpected, of shocks, of my goodness, I didn't see that coming, trining Pluto, the planet of transformation, the planet of death, of rebirth, in Aquarius. Now they're both in signs to do with technology, to do with AI in many respects. And I think it's interesting that there has recently been a case in the news where a family are actually suing one of these online AI companies because their child, teenage son, was encouraged, it would seem, by this particular artificial intelligence app to, basically to take his own life. And the problems and the concern that artificial intelligence raises are enormous, and the rewriting of programs that needs to be written into these programs very, very fast before such a calamity happens again. You'll find it online if you want to go into it in more detail, but it just shows how susceptible we can be to suggestion by an automated intelligence that, as far as we know, do not have feelings. Now, what about this full moon? Because Pisces, being the last sign of the zodiac, is about the numinous. It's about our imagination, our dreams, our creativity, our ability to go within and connect with our psyche, our ability to know for sure that we have a psyche and a soul that does its best to work for the highest good of itself and of others. And I think that's a phrase we have to keep in mind very much around the energy of this full moon, that whatever leaves our lives at this time or around this time is for the highest good of ourself and the highest good of everyone else. You know, you might find people leave your life at this time. Maybe that's a good thing. And I think that it's about having the faith and the trust in what is unfolding. Because eclipses, remember, something is put in shadow. The moon is the feminine and the intuition. And the light is taken away from the full moon. So if we think of the symbolism of that, it's as if it's saying, there are things that you are not yet meant to see, but it doesn't mean they're not there. And I think it's about the faith that we have to have when we're in the dark, because when we're in the dark, the only thing we have is our faith. Faith that the divine has our back and the cosmos knows better than us. Now, this eclipse in Europe, and I'm looking at European time, starts to happen actually at 1728 in the early evening, but it won't be visible in Europe until about 1930 when the full eclipse begins and it will be above the horizon. And it's a long eclipse. It goes on until nearly 11 o'clock, and that's 10 o'clock in the UK. So most of us in Europe and the UK can see this eclipse. I'm going to go down to one of our little coastal bays and meet up with some friends, and we're going to watch the eclipse. But let me have a little look about what else I've got written down in my notes about this eclipse before I move on to your individual zodiac signs. I think we have to remember that there are collective themes here of dissolution, emotional release, and spiritual clarity. I think there is something about beyond the eclipse, when the light comes back to the moon, that clarity crystallizes, that we finally see what we couldn't see before, what was hidden from us before. You might find there is some karmic release that is experienced through this eclipse. Maybe there is a lesson that can be learned, because there's also, we have to look at this mini grand trine and the revolutionary ideas and breakthroughs in communication that come with Uranus in Gemini. Trining Pluto in Aquarius, there is something so innovative about this energy. And I think we're going to see the beginnings of the seeds being sown of new social structures, of radical change in social structures. Remember, Saturn, that has now moved back into Pisces, is about boundaries. So Saturn is thrashing around in these late degrees of Pisces, trying to set some boundaries into moving water. And you know it's very difficult, but if you swim in a sea that has a piece roped off for swimmers, those ropes and those buoys don't stay exactly where they are. They can drift and move. So as much as we try and put down boundaries, it's as if we have to trust the flow of the unconscious and where it takes us currently, so that we can trust that what dissolves, what just goes away, was never meant to be there in the first place. So the Pisces moon will dissolve illusions. I think there'll be a clearing of psychic clutter, anything that does not serve where we need to move towards. This is about bringing in new ways of creating a structure for your dreams, being a little bit revolutionary about your insights, looking at how you can get together with others to manifest that which you want to make a reality. I think what will happen with this energy is that any illusions that we've been under will be stripped away with this full moon eclipse. It'll clear the way so that we have clarity of what can realistically manifest and what really is or belongs to the past. So we're being asked to let go of that which does not serve us anymore. Let's just look at it in very simple terms. Symbolically, an eclipse is the ending. Uranus trining Pluto, revolutionary vision. Saturn and Neptune, Saturn in Pisces, Neptune in Aries, but conjunct. Building the new. And you weave these together and it's like a blueprint for the phoenix rising from the ashes. So even if all seems lost, even if nothing seems to be shifting or happening within the ideas and plans that you've got for your own personal future, do not give up hope. Have faith. Have faith in the small things. Have faith and get on with the attention to the everyday things. Service to others, service to the things that you wish to manifest. Find the discipline to take care of your physical health. And you will find the courage and the patience to wait for the timing, Saturn, the timing of when it's right for these new things to come in. So there is something about this full moon which brings in spiritual and emotional purging. There's almost the sense of a new psychic location that you will inhabit. And with this blood moon that lasts about 82 minutes, is that 82 hours in some way? Is it 82 days? Is it 82 weeks? Is it 82 months, which is 2 years? But with most eclipses, and 82 minutes is a bit longer than an hour. So we usually look at eclipses lasting, or the effects of an eclipse being active for around 6 months. So let's take that as a kind of marker. And I think what we have to keep our eye on is the new moon solar eclipse coming in Virgo at 29 degrees of Virgo on the 21st of September, because I think by then or around that time, you will start to see the seeds of that which you wish to manifest finally taking root. So I think, have you had enough look at the chart? I think so. I didn't say much about it, did I? Because I was kind of off on one of my waxing lyrical moments, but let's get Jerry to take it down. Jerry, can you remove the chart? And it's gone. let's have a look at your individual signs. So Jerry will be time-stamping them. And thank you, Jerry. We really appreciate all of us, all of this wonderful soul fam. Now, let's start with Aries. This is for Sun in Aries or for rising sign in Aries. And remember to listen to your sun sign, your rising sign, and also if you know what the rising sign or sun sign is of those people that you'd like to keep an eye on, listen to those too. Could give you a lot of information. Well, Aries, this of course is in your 12th house, which is a Pisces house. So it really is activating karma, subconscious, and dreams, memories. It's bringing closure to some dreams and ideas that you now realize with this full moon were unrealistic. It's as if you need to take personal time out, to spend some time alone, to rest, to be a little bit more introspective, and to really pay attention to your dreams. And you know what I'm feeling is it would be good to connect with water at this time. If it's a stream, a lake, the sea, even if you can only find a video on YouTube to be connecting with the element of water. Because I think if you meditate with the energy of water and remember how intuitive and conscious water is. Water has the most amazing, unknown and really sort of, we've not given enough attention to the consciousness of water. But as you know, there are many people now doing research into water and how if we bless our water, so I bless my water and think loving thoughts into it. If I now put this water into a Petri dish and froze it, I would see beautiful harmonious crystals showing that I'm sending love into the water, which will transfer itself into me. This is Pisces. This is what we need to be doing. So I'm going to have a sip of my healing water. So respect silent stirrings and have faith, Aries. Even if it feels like you're in the dark, that's when, as I say, we need faith and trust that if there is a situation that is difficult, this too shall pass. So now let's move on to Taurus. So this is for Sun in Taurus or for rising sign in Taurus. Taurus, it's your 11th house. Well, I think you are going through a transitional phase, Taurus, of realigning whom is on your team and who isn't. This is to do with larger groups of people, the kind of groups that you want to be associated with rather than the ones perhaps you think you ought to be associated with. I think you're being more discerning. You're really looking at the social interactions and bonds that you have in your life. And you're looking at whether they align with where you want to go forwards on your path. You might find friends who've been around for a long time, or maybe not as long as you can think. But certain friendships will fall away at this time. And certain groups of people may fall away from you at this time. But at the same time, some other groups may reappear that are more on the same frequency of where you find yourself now. And there's a resonance that comes with this eclipse of enabling and empowering you through that Pluto in Aquarius to break through the limitations that you may have imposed on yourself, to allow new groups to come in, new ideas, new people. You know, if you're a Taurian who doesn't have much water in your chart, then this would be a good time to really check water out and maybe look at some of Veda Austin's videos about the intelligence of water, the consciousness of water, to embrace it into your life so that when you are drinking water, you know that it is hydrating you, healing you, and connecting you with the one element that is everywhere. And without this element of water, we cannot exist. Well, let's move on to Gemini. So this is for Sun in Gemini or for rising sign in Gemini. 10th house, career, and also, of course, how you are viewed in the public arena. Well, of course, Gemini, it's quite a difficult sign that you have here in your house of career. Pisces tends to keep you under wraps, keep everything you do under wraps. And there's been a real sense of push-pull with this Saturn-Neptune energy you've had in your sign, or sorry, in the sign of Pisces in your 10th house for such a while. I think you've been trying to break through, to break free with your work, with what you are passionate about. This eclipse is bringing a discernible shift. I think that if you are working in an area that doesn't resonate with you on a very deeply spiritual level, it'll fall away. You will let it go. And it's also, I think, about trying to intuit, trying to trust your intuition more, Gemini, because you're very much in your head at times, being an air sign. And now you've got Uranus in your sign, albeit it's gone retrograde and it's going to go back into Taurus for a while before you fully experience it next year, 2026. It's given you a taste of what you can expect, of the inventiveness, of the innovation, of the freedom of speech that you can experience with Pisces, with Gemini. God, I'm getting it all wrong. With Uranus in your sign, Gemini. Now, this Pisces lunar eclipse in your 10th house is saying what has to leave to let in where you know you will shine best. Because somewhere you've been putting a lot of work in and it's not being exposed. Uranus is going to help you with that next year, that's for sure. But I think for now, you've got to look at where you need to clear the decks. And where you might need with this Pisces full moon lunar eclipse to really do some deep inner work and look at what your principles are, what is most important to you, what your values are, what you authentically want to bring into your workplace or your passion, whatever it is that you feel is the way that you can share your talents with the outside world. So try and let go of the need for any recognition or validation. Create work that aligns with your soul. And the recognition and the, sort of validation will automatically be there. And they won't have to come in with a fanfare. And actually, it'll be because it's deserved. Let's move on to Cancer. So this is for Sun in Cancer or for rising sign in Cancer. It's your 9th house. Well, the 9th house is about higher education. It's also about long distance travel. And it's also because, of course, you're a water sign, and Pisces being your 9th house means there really is longing at times to be near water. And I think water is an important part of your educational growth in recognizing how much it can help you in allowing yourself to immerse yourself in the nature of the sign of Pisces, which takes you into the world of the imagination, of musings, of psychic awareness. This full moon can take away a block that has been like a sort of psychological block that has been making it difficult for you to see the truth that you keep seeking about where spirituality fully sits within you, understanding your connection with the divine intelligence. What does it mean for you? I just feel this is something about a real aha moment for you, Cancer, where your intuitive insights really expand and you have a real sense of, oh yeah, I get it. I get it. And a recognition that it's been you getting in your own way all the time. And that you just have to allow the divine to flow, maybe to throw you out the way, maybe to flow through you, to take you to where you need to be. Shall we come on to Leo? Because for you, Leo, Sun in Leo, rising sign in Leo, it's in your 8th house. Now this, of course, is intimacy. It's our emotional entanglements. It's our joint finances. Could also be anything to do with, sort of benefiting from a legacy or a will. I think there's something here, Leo, about letting go of a dependency on security which you're not trusting. It's as if there is a security that you have, but you're not fully recognizing its value. And because you're not very good at allowing yourself to trust that the universe will always fulfill your needs, that you can have the abundance you need, and that if you stop trying to make that abundance come into your life, it makes it easier, paradoxically, for it to come into your life. And I think that this is a little bit what I said for Cancer. Leo, you need to get out of your own way with this. It's the 8th house. This is about transformation. This is about the opportunity for you to transform, to break through. You know, you've got Saturn here. Saturn is reminding you that when things of importance come into our life, it's always about timing. And when they finally appear, often we are able to take a step back and go, now I see why it, whatever it is, couldn't happen till now. Trust in the unseen. Trust that the divine has your back, and that what leaves you at this time, in terms of maybe there's been some rather dubious sort of emotional support that has really not had much substance to it. Maybe the emotional support was from an area of people that maybe didn't have your highest good in their sights. This is about you being true to yourself, Leo. Letting go and knowing that this higher divine intelligence has your back and will make sure that you wake up and break through into the place on your timeline that you need to be. So the vulnerability you let in helps you become transformed and empowered. Now let's move on to Virgo. Virgo, Sun in Virgo, or rising sign in Virgo. Well, of course, this is your 7th house, and you have the Sun in your sign at the moment. Now, full moons can bring closure. It doesn't mean a relationship ends, although if there is a relationship that has really outlived its usefulness or sell-by date, then you'll probably be very pleased if it leaves your life. So you can take that into consideration. I think a lot of things around relationships will be highlighted. I think you will have lots of facets of certain situations. You'll become aware of them. You will see them. The light will shine very clearly on these situations when that eclipse is over. It's almost as if the light has to go before the light comes back, so that when the light does come back and we kind of blink because we're struggling to make sense, and we actually see that, well, we actually see who is still really there for us. We find out who is on our team. And I think you have to take some risks, Virgo. I think you have to let go of something, of someone, of clinging perhaps to a relationship or a situation. Let it go so that the illusions drop away. Because if that person is solid and meant to be in your life, they'll still be there. And this will have just been a test of your love. Let's move on to Libra. So this is the 6th house, and it's for Sun in Libra or for rising sign in Libra. Libra, your 6th house, this is about your routines, your daily habits, your health, how you serve yourself, how you serve others. And of course, you're the sign of relationship. And so you do like to make sure that there is a kind of balance and equality in your life. And you see, you've got Pisces here. And Pisces is really showing us that sometimes psychologically you get out of balance. And there's a definite sense of burnout. You may have been working very hard, Libra, and this full moon eclipse may be the lights going out saying, I'm going to just make you stop for a while. You know, you may just think, I've just got to take time out, and you are almost, you know, compelled to make a decision to cancel things over the weekend so that you have a clear run of just giving you some time and not being there for everybody else. This is about you, Libra. You've got to prioritize your own physical well-being over perfection. You need to choose a new set of routines that really nourish your soul, or discard the routines that you know have perhaps not been helpful for you. The lights may literally go out, and you might think, wow, I didn't know how exhausted I was. And this is showing me that I really do need to just take time out and slow down. And I think if you're able to do that, Libra, then what can come in with that Virgo new moon solar eclipse mid-September will be awesome. Okay, let's move on to Scorpio. So this is for Sun in Scorpio or for rising sign in Scorpio. Your fifth house, creativity, love affairs, romance, children. This shows, I think, that the full moon eclipse is taking you away from some projects that you've perhaps been working on, and it's time to just say, they're ready. I can put them out there now. I can let them go. There is something here about the need for you to really exercise your creativity. You might find that if you have been in a relationship that has been more part-time or more a relationship of romantic relationship rather than a we're together kind of relationship, that this full moon brings the end of that status. Either you decide we're going our separate ways, or you decide he's the one for me, or she's the one for me, or this person is the one for me. And you decide to take it to the next level. But that probably might not come about until the new moon solar eclipse on the 21st of September. I think you need to also do a bit of inner reflection, Scorpio. You're a water sign like Pisces, where this full moon is. You need to look at whether you're doing things for effect or whether you're doing things because they really resonate with your soul and psyche on a deep inner personal level. They need to be personally meaningful. If they're not, they become shallow and hollow. And anything like that that has been in your life will be taken away with this full moon eclipse. Absolutely, no doubt. It'll be just stripped away. So you must allow your creativity to be meaningful on a very deep, inner, personal, soulful level. But on the whole, I think the cycles here that will shift things on to the next level will be what you want, and you'll be quite happy with the outcome. Let's move on to Sagittarius. So this is for Sun in Sagittarius or for rising sign in Sagittarius. Fourth house, home, family, your ancestry, roots, all of these things. There's a full moon. And if you've been looking to change where you live, then this could bring definitive change or a situation where things change. So this could really bring a complete change in your living situation, if that's what you're looking for. At least it might be the beginning of the shift, which may start to take off more around the new moon solar eclipse in Virgo on the 21st of September. I think that there is a need with this to look at what you need to release in terms of any problems that you've had within the family unit. How can you reshape your emotional stance to those in your family where things have perhaps got a bit distant, a bit confused? You know, think of Pisces. It can be nebulous, confusing. You've got Neptune, Saturn, that has been really dissolving this energy, and Saturn, as fast as Neptune dissolves, it's trying to get in there and put things back together. Maybe it's time to recognize that there are certain situations or family members that you need to distance yourself from, Sagittarius. Perhaps they just don't get you. And perhaps you do need to wake yourself up to the fact that it can't all be happy families, that is a kind of unrealistic desire that we all tend to have. And if you take care of you and those that are dependent on you, and do what has an integrity, if you keep in that integrity and truth about your family roots and base, then this full moon can clear away a lot of the misconceptions. I think it can open your eyes and you can see a lot of truth coming through with this lunar eclipse. Now let's move on to Capricorn. So Capricorn, this is for Sun in Capricorn or for rising sign in Capricorn. Third house, communication, can be short distance travel. Well, I think psychologically you'll be going through quite a mental awakening with this energy. You know, Pluto's finished with you in your sign and is now in Aquarius. And now you've got this energy, this full moon in Pisces, which is really trying to empower you to get beyond the outdated mental loops and overthinking that perhaps you get into. It's really asking you to think outside the box, Capricorn, and not get too stuck in your thinking paradigms, to not get stuck in what's logical, but actually look at what is illogical, because sometimes, you know, there is a lot of sense to be found in that which doesn't make much sense, because sometimes it's about the frequency and the intuitive sensing of why a certain course of action is the right way to go, or communicating in a certain way is the right place to go. I think this full moon will bring intuitive insights into the local community where you connect with people and whom you want to keep close in your local circle, and whom you find yourself drifting apart from. But try and listen to the intuition as much as looking at the facts and figures and the logic. Because sometimes, you know, we get so caught up in the figures and the numbers, we forget to feel. So what I'm suggesting, Capricorn, is you feel what needs to change in your thinking, what ways of thinking you need to let go of, where you need to break through and see things in a totally different way. Let's move on to Aquarius. So for you, Aquarius, the Sun in Aquarius and rising sign in Aquarius, this is your second house of your financial status, how you make your money, how you show your self-worth to the world. So it's your self-esteem. I think for you, Aquarius, because I think you will be finding the presence of Pluto in your sign challenging, and it may be up, you know, sort of turning everything you believe upside down. You need to let go of a feeling of lack, because if you're getting caught into there won't be enough, there's not enough, there's not going to be enough, then you're just keeping yourself locked in lack and scarcity. And as I'm sure you all well know by now, that we have to live and be on the frequency of abundance, to trust that that abundance always comes with us. If we trust and have faith in the abundance, and sometimes we just have to look around ourselves and remind ourselves of the reality. I mean, yes, okay, sometimes people are in dire circumstances, and you know, it's very difficult when one does these readings to encompass and understand the circumstances and situations that everyone finds themselves in, or some people find themselves in. But in general, it's even if you are in dire circumstances, to at least find spiritual abundance and to find a way to make peace with your psyche and soul. It's like you need to go through with this full moon a recalibration of self, and redefine your self-worth, because we can have nothing, but if we value ourselves, that's something no one can take away from us. And I think it helps on the path towards abundance if we believe we deserve abundance and we deserve to be in a good place. And it will help attract that frequency and energy into our circumstances. So sometimes it's just about finding that shiny new penny on the floor and going, oh, there's my sign from the universe that maybe, not maybe, my needs will be met. Because why not? Usually they are. Finally, let's move on to Pisces. Sun in Pisces, rising sign in Pisces, my oceans of emotion, I can't speak, my oceans of emotions, my lovely intuitive beings, this full moon is in your first house. Heavy stuff, whoa, heavy stuff for you, a lunar eclipse in your sign, Pisces. What has to leave your life? Is this a personal rebirth? Is this a transformation of the soul? Is it something about a complete change in some way of your identity? I think you might experience profound endings. I suspect your vision, your ability to sense and intuit what is coming will be enhanced, because it's as if with this lunar eclipse, it's as if you have to go totally in the dark to the very bottom of the pit, because there's only one way things can go when you are there, and that is to the light. So there is something about the spiritual abundance that can be achieved through the letting go of old paradigms, the letting go of old beliefs, and having the faith that the changes you are currently facing and going through on an inner level, on an inner spiritual and psychic level, are very much needed, because this is about rebirth and renewing your personal vision. Know that being sensitive is one of your strengths. It is a wonderful strength that you have the ability to see within and to see beyond. So allow those boundaries to be dissolved in this instance, so that you can emerge like the phoenix from the ashes and begin a new cycle in your life, which you'll begin to see the seeds growing with that Virgo new moon solar eclipse on September the 21st. So there we go. We have a Pisces moon that is going to dissolve boundaries, reveal hidden truths of illusions. I think we can all gain emotional purification, spiritual clarity. This is a perfect kind of bridge to the solar eclipse on the 21st, which will bring in new structure to the clarity that we will all gain through this lunar eclipse. Enjoy it. Get outside if you're in part of the world where it can be seen. Enjoy it. Go watch it. Take pictures of it. I don't know whether they'll come out. I shall try. And thank you for joining me for this full moon lunar eclipse. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And I really look forward to seeing you again very soon. Bye for now.